Good afternoon. Welcome to Inside Indiana Sports Now with Kent Sterling. It's Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. We're brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry. Dr. Mike O'Neill, the best dentist that there is. I've never gone to a better dentist. I've never gone to any other dentist the last 27 years. That's how good Dr. Mike O'Neill is. He's going to take great care of your teeth and gums. Give him a call, 317-849-2933. Want to remind you, subscribe, like, ring the bell, do all that stuff. I appreciate it. Let's talk about sports. A coach may be coming to Indiana. A player may be leaving Indiana. The player who may be leaving is Armaan Franklin, who asked Indiana University to put his name in the NCAA's transfer portal today. Had a meeting with Scott Dolson this morning. And so, teams, if Armaan Franklin has provided his contact information, they can reach out to Armaan and say, hey, you want to come play for us? Do you know how many programs would love to have a guy like Armaan Franklin? Let's just say all of them. After his sophomore year, Armaan Franklin has shown a development that projects toward playing professional basketball one day in the NBA. That's how good Armaan Franklin is. Now, if Armaan Franklin told Indiana not to provide his contact information, then it's up to Armaan to reach out to schools and say, hey, I'd like to come play for you. What do you think? So he doesn't have to go through all the noise and all the tumult that went along with being recruited when he was in high school. That's kind of the difference. You decide whether you want to provide your contact information or not. This is exploratory. It doesn't mean that he's leaving. It means that he wants to find out what the interest level is in him as Indiana is trying to find out who the next coach is going to be, because Armaan Franklin, he's going to get paid to play basketball. At some point, he's going to make a lot of money to play. And so if they hire a coach, if Indiana does, that he doesn't think understands how to showcase his talents for millions of dollars, he may choose to leave and go play for somebody else. If Indiana does hire a guy who has shown an ability to showcase players and put them in line to make millions of dollars playing in the NBA, Armaan Franklin likely stays. That's how easy it is. So among the coaches who are being rumored to be associated with this job, no name right now is hotter than Thad Matta. Here's some things to know about Thad Matta. He hadn't been a coach for 4 years. In 2017, he separated from Ohio State. Was he fired? Did he quit? I don't know exactly what the language was, but he separated from that university in 2017. Chris Holtmann was hired to replace him. In 2018, Thad Matta turned down Georgia. He met with the AD, decided that his health wasn't right yet. The reason that he separated from Ohio State is about 10 years prior, he had back surgery, and the back surgery did not go well. And as a result, he had chronic back problems. And those chronic back problems put him in a position where he had difficulty coaching at the level he needed to coach at in order to be successful. That's the way it goes. Is he healthy now? If he's healthy now, he's a tough guy to ignore. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you a bunch of reasons why. Here's kind of a bio of Thad Matta. He's from Hoopeston, Illinois, which is about 45 miles due west of West Lafayette, just across the Illinois border. Over his career, 439 and 154. He was 24-13, or has been 24-13. No reason to talk about him in the past tense, I guess. 24-13 in the NCAA tournament. He went to 2 Final Fours and an additional 2 Elite Eights. One of the Elite Eights was Xavier, and the other one with Ohio State. Both Final Fours with Ohio State. In his one season at Butler, 2000-2001, the Bulldogs went 24-8. His 3 teams at Xavier each won 26 games. He won at least 10 Big Ten games every single season he was at Ohio State, but the first and the last. He won either a regular season conference championship, a tournament championship, or an NIT in all but 2 of his first 13 seasons as a coach. And in 5 of those seasons, he won the regular season conference championship and the conference tournament championship in the same year. Like I said, back surgery caused problems. It ended Matta's run at Ohio State. If healthy, he's a top 10 coach in the country. If healthy, you got to pay attention to Thad Matta as a candidate for your job. There have been rumors and, in fact, reports that Matta was offered the Indiana job. There was a health physical that took place, and he didn't pass the physical, so Indiana didn't hire him. Those reports have been said by intermediaries from Indiana University, people very, very close to the athletic department. Those rumors have said, or those reports have been said to be spurious. So there you go. What should Indiana fans think about Thad Matta if at some point, boom, on Twitter, there it is, Thad Matta is the next head coach at Indiana? If he can stay healthy, like I said, he is a no-brainer. He has some Indiana ties, not quite as deep as those of Brad Stevens, and he hadn't coached for 4 years. However, when he coached at Butler, at Xavier, at Ohio State, when he was healthy, those programs won, and they won almost immediately. He brings high energy to the position. He brings great relationships to the position, both inside the state of Indiana and outside. He is a guy who is well liked among his peers, and he's a guy who is always very, very friendly at Butler when I came into Hinkle. Either when my son was at camp, Hinkle basketball, he was always very, very friendly, or with the media, very, very friendly guy. Thad Matta, as a candidate for the Indiana job, man, you've got to listen. If he calls and says, I would like that job, you've got to pay attention. He's that kind of a coach. You look at the Big Ten and what kind of a coach you would have to bring in to kind of knock at the door to knock one, let's say, of the 14 coaches in the Big Ten. What kind of a coach do you have to be to get in the top 7 of those coaches, right? I mean, right now, you have, who you got? You got Chris Holtman and Tom Izzo and Brad Underwood and Juwan Howard, the only Big Ten coach still working this year in the NCAA tournament, the only Big Ten team out of the 9 who was invited to make it to the Sweet 16. So I'm putting Juwan Howard in the upper half. You've got Greg Gard, you've got Fran McCaffrey, right? You have Matt Painter, you have Mark Turgeon, you have a lot of coaches who are in the top half of I don't know how many coaches I've named, 8, 9. How good do you have to be? Micah Shrewsbury, I don't know how good a head coach he's going to be. Who's Minnesota going to hire? I don't know. Fred Hoiberg, right now, not a big deal. Chris Collins, So there's some who you would not put in the top half, at least not right now. How good a coach do you have to hire to throw a guy automatically into the top half? Thad Matta goes into the top half of the Big Ten without question. I don't know who he bumps out of it, but he's in the top 10 or top 7 of the Big Ten because all that guy does is win. And like I said, he knows his way around the state of Indiana. He recruited successfully in the state of Indiana a lot. Greg Oden, Mike Conley, 2 of his top recruits, and he should send a Christmas card to Mike Davis every single year for blowing the recruitment of those 2 guys. The key to Oden was Conley. Mike Davis comes into the gym at Lawrence North High School, and Mike Conley Sr., who is Mike Conley Jr.'s dad, comes up to Mike Davis, who's watching Greg Oden work out one day before school, and says, "Hi, I'm Mike Conley Sr. That's my son over there." And Mike Davis looked at him and said, "I'm looking at the guy I'm interested in." And then Mike Davis sent a letter addressed to Mike Conley, but the letter was addressed to a different recruit. What are you going to do? So Mike Conley goes to Ohio State and Greg Oden goes to Ohio State, and Indiana doesn't get either, and yikes, right? Because Greg Oden and Mike Conley were really good college basketball players, and Mike Conley's still killing it in the NBA. Anyway, Thad Matta got those 2 guys, and Indiana did not. Again, what are you going to do? Like I said also in college basketball news, Aaron Wheeler, as a grad-eligible transfer, has put his name, or asked Purdue to put his name in the portal. So we'll see what kind of interest Aaron Wheeler gets. This is going to become a thing. There are a lot of guys who are transferring. And as transferring becomes easier and you become eligible more quickly, and there are waivers granted without gripe from basketball programs, you know what? There's going to be some bouncing around and there's going to be some shifting of talent. That's a good thing for Indiana right now, right? Because Indiana, they just finished outside the money in the Big Ten. And by that, I mean outside those teams that were invited to the NCAA tournament. So maybe some of that shifting can shift Indiana's way and they can hold on to Armaan Franklin, as I hope they do. I love Armaan Franklin, a Cathedral graduate. I watched him at Cathedral, and all he did was make team-first plays. That's what he does. He reminds me a little bit of E'Twaun Moore, who played at Purdue, because the points he scores, you never think, wow, he just hit 3 threes in a row. But at the end of the day, you look at the stat sheet and he's got 18. That was E'Twaun Moore. Always played really good defense. I think Armaan Franklin is cut of the same cloth. Other guys still being discussed in terms of the Indiana job. Dane Fife, Mike Woodson, who turns 63 tomorrow. Nothing about age in this thing. You know what? Jim Boeheim is still rolling in the Sweet 16. I think he's 76 years old. And I'm not kidding. A lot of times you say, oh, he's 76 years old. No, I believe he's really 76 years old. So people who look at Beilein and say, Beilein's too damn old, he's 68. You kidding me? Boeheim's got 8 years on him. So Beilein and Dane Fife at Michigan State, I think he'd be a great pick. Mike Woodson, like I said, I don't know. He's never coached in college, so I don't know. Keith Smart, I don't know. He's never coached in college. His record as an NBA head coach, with the Cavs and the Warriors and the Kings, it's not great, but all those teams sucked. I mean, what are you going to do? If you're the coach of the Cavs when he was a coach of the Cavs, or the Warriors when he was a coach of the Warriors, or the Kings ever, like, you're not going to win. And that's the way it goes. And there are guys who make a good living coaching bad teams in the NBA and putting up terrible numbers as a result. It's not the coaching, it's the talent around them that makes it impossible for them to win. And that's just the way it is. Is Myles Turner going to be traded by the Pacers? Pacers say no. They're not shopping him, at least. It would take, according to Jay Michael of the Indianapolis Star, a perfect deal for the Pacers to part ways with Myles Turner, who is at least, on the board. If Vegas had a tote board for Defensive Player of the Year, I think Myles Turner's on it, leading the NBA in blocks by a wide margin. I like Myles Turner. He's going to be the CEO of his own company one day, and I think he's figuring out how to compete in the NBA. I think at the beginning of his NBA career, he was just a really, really tall guy who had a bit of an affinity for the game, but not overwhelming affinity for the game. And I think that he's kind of developed a more competitive edge to him as he's spent time here in Indiana. He's the longest tenured Indiana Pacer, coming here as the number 11 overall pick in the 2015 draft. Colts, quiet today. Not a lot going on. We know they picked up a backup tackle who's kind of ambidextrous. He's going to be able to back up at the left and right spots. He's started a bit for the Chargers the last few years. 6th-round pick back in, I think, 2017. And here he comes here. That's great. They needed that backup tackle. Now they've got to go draft a starting left tackle. We'll see if they're able to do it. We'll see what T.Y. Hilton does. That's a huge deal. They got to keep their own. They have to show a desire to keep their own and a willingness to pay their own, so they don't have to spend crazy money to go get people from other places to come to Indianapolis. We don't need to become the Chicago Bears. Let's not be that front office, which really hadn't been worth a damn since Chris Ballard left it back in the day. Coming up tomorrow on Breakfast with Kent, we'll talk about whatever happens tonight. Pacers don't play tonight. No NCAA tournament games tonight. The Indiana women's team, I believe, plays tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing them play. Ali Patberg is joyful to watch play basketball. Join me tomorrow morning, Breakfast with Kent, live on Facebook at about 6 o'clock. Yeah, 6 a.m. and then immediately thereafter on YouTube. Can't wait to talk to you then.